Welcome to the shed. So yeah, if you're new here, we are building a ultimate kind of van boat conversion thing that we're up to. Basically, I'm a boat builder and I'm building the inside of this van like a boat because that's what we do on this channel. We do boats, 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 and more boats. So I don't know if you followed us from the beginning, but this is where we got last time. This is laminate steam bent, a bit dusty at the moment. We'll get some more varnish on that later, a bit of the old epiphanes. So top part's laminate steam bending and the bottom part is curve cutting. And what we're going to do today is something completely different. Again, another way of putting bends and curves into the van. So let me just step in here. Okay, so in here is where we're going to put the curved panel, and it's going to be around here. It's like a big bulkhead, similar to what you get in the oysters and that kind of boat. Let me show you. So down here is my granddad's brush. She was a traditional cabinet maker. Still got his brush. So this is going to be a curved bulkhead with a door in it, and this is basically going to be where the shower is. So I'm going to go through a way that you can build curved bulkheads for your own boat or van or whatever it is you're doing. I mean, it's up to you if you want to do it this way. This is just more about what we're doing on our journey to building the rowboat in order to get off to the boat shows and all that kind of stuff and continue bringing you the boat related content, really. And of course the boat build, that's coming up soon too. So in there goes the head. Now the head's pretty cool actually. I'll show you that in a second. It's like it's something called an Airhead, just like what's up here. So I think we need to get cracking, and I'll show you what I've been up to. Basically building a jig to make it happen, which is out here. That light's bright, eh? Basically when we set to the jig here, I needed to get this angle right and this radius correct. And then these are just pieces of cheap timber, very cheap timber, cut in half and put in to stop the panel from deforming as much as we can. So basically what I'm going to do is wrap sheet material around this. So what I'm going to use is something called flexi ply. And so what we've got here is just some normal ply. Now this is 4mm plywood, and of course it doesn't really bend. It does a little bit, but to get around this curve, I don't know, it probably would be okay, but as a full sheet, when I tried it, it wasn't really working. So you can get this and do this several ways. You can curve cut it like this, which is setting a saw depth, and that allows you to now get something very curved. Now the problem with curve cutting is you can sometimes get it'll only bend one way like that, but let's say we're bending it that way, but then you get this sort of bobbly effect. You need a fill. That's no big deal either. You could use some fillers for that, epoxy or polyurethane or something like that. But the reality of it is that it can quite often give a slightly notched feeling, and I didn't want that in a bulkhead, so we're going to go with a flexi ply. Okay, so this is bendy ply or flexi ply, whatever the hell you want to call it. Now normally with plywood, especially 5mm, we're probably going to bend it to about here. But effectively I'm like super strong, so I can just do that with it. It's super bendy and it takes nothing to hold. It's like really, really, really bendy, which is fantastic. Now that, like I say, comes in two types. I just put this into what is basically a plywood sheet size, you can get it which grows what they call long grain, which it curves that way, bends flexibly that way, or short grain, which would bend that way. As we clamp them down on top of each other, like 1 panel, 2, 3, 4, is make sure that we don't end up with like bulbous areas of glue inside, because that's going to give us like a weird hourglass kind of wobble going on. So that's where the jig came in. And my idea is to strap it down with ratchet straps. I mean, in an ideal world, we would use either a form which went over the top, which is the same way we did the step. But realistically with this, the best way to do this will be with a vacuum bag. But we're trying to do this in a manner of just having basic tools. Jenny's Uncle Jenny's Uncle Donald's been a legend and let us stay here and use this farm shed, which is fantastic, and giving us that opportunity. But we don't have all that fancy stuff here, so it's really cool to go back to our roots of kind of basic timber work and make it happen. So yeah, let's make this happen on a cheap, simple, straightforward budget. I've got the jig pretty much as we want it. Oh, what's that number there calling me? Might be the pop top, this. Okay, so the pop top came, and I'm not really entirely sure what we're doing. I mean, it can't be that difficult. We're just cutting a hole in the roof, right? So I'm not going to go into ins and outs of all that, because at the end of the day, I think it is pretty much a pretty basic task. The instructions that came with it are fantastic. I'm just going to drill a hole and go from there. At the end of the day, I think it should be pretty simple. And I guess, you know, it's a van. It can't sink, can it? So what am I worried about? There. Hang on a minute. There's steel flying everywhere here. That's the bad. That's what happens when you try things you know ain't gonna work. It's a shame that, because that's the only steel blade we've got.
Woohoo!
Okay.
We got a hole in our roof. Oh my god! Ah! Is it in the right place? Like, I feel like you didn't...
I didn't measure it at all, no, I just took a guess.
Lila, I sing this song for you. You're beautiful, even when you're down. You know this, and never talk yourself out of it. Lila, it's all inside your head. Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So let your light shine without holding it in. Love yourself and don't give in.
That's a long day of getting a really, really dusty fiberglass stuff itching like mad, and we're supposed to be having a night in the van tonight, going out for a little bit of an adventure. But the other van, yeah, not this van, goodness me. But the reality of it is that I'm not sure we are, because we've been here a bit later than expected. I'm covered in itchy fiberglass. Anyway, we've got the roof scribed in, got the rubber trim put on roughly, and I'm just working on the hinge locations. But to be quite honest, let's just call it a night. Go and make the bed itchy or something like that. What do you reckon, Jenny? All right, not bad for one day. Okay, so obviously the jig's finished. It's been a while since we actually made this. Things got in the way and time passes on as it does. So this is all ready to go. We've got some ratchet straps here. I decided to use an aluminium frame at the bottom here, which is to stop this boards from spitting themselves out as we bend this round. And today's the day where we're going to find out if this actually works. We're pretty stoked about actually making these curved panels. We think it's really going to make a big difference. Is it? I don't know. We really don't know. We just have to find out. So we've got laid out on the floor this wonderful framing here. This is just to stop us getting epoxy on the floor. So the plan is lay epoxy onto the sheets of plywood. We've got 4 of them. And then once that's gone, we're going to put thickened epoxy over the top and kind of put it on with a notched trowel so we get an even spread of it. And the reason I put the epoxy on first is because thickened epoxy isn't as porous, so you don't get as good a bond. So I'm going to basically stack them up on top of each other. Then after that, we're going to put a piece of hardboard on as well. And then basically we strap it down with these two things. Once these are on, we're going to use some heavy duty ratchet straps, which was borrowed off Jenny's Uncle Donald. Handy to have a farmer in the house, I'll tell you. Pretty good of him. Yeah, and then we basically leave it 24 hours and hope it works. So how the plan goes. So today's a new day. We're on with steel work today, on with the roof, pop tops. So the beauty of boat building is that you do a bit of everything really. So we're going to be welding today. This is a transporter roof actually, not a crafter roof. And the guys at Streamline are letting me faff around with it and I'm going to make some hinges to make it fit a crafter. So we scribed it in yesterday, which is a good old technique we use on boats all the time. And now I'm going to do some welding and take that up. We only have a TIG welder, so we're going to do it old school handy style, which is pretty cool. So we'll get welding, get that on, and yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So let's get dirty.
Okay, so while Chris is getting his hands back into welding, which is something he's done a lot of, but not for a little while, like the woodwork. Tell you what, it's so good that Chris is a boat builder because it just covers so many skills. And it's a bit of a running joke that if we can't find something, it's like, oh well, we'll just make it. I mean, I'm so lucky in that respect. So Chris is getting those hinges done. But I have got some exciting news about the boat build that we're working on, which is different to the rowboat. It's a proper boat that will float one day. If you don't know anything about that, you could check out this video here. The main focus just now, whilst we're building the rowboat, is the keel for the real boat. We've got a lot of work to do on the keel. We've got to basically make the lead bulb for it, which is the big heavy bit on the bottom because it doesn't exist. So the fin exists but the bulb doesn't. So we have been to the sister ship of the boat and we've scanned her keel. So we've now got the scan that we want to put into a CAD system. So we've got Michael from Maker's Manual who has reached out and is keen to help us do that. Now he is a CAD expert. He's cleaning the CAD file up and we spent a bit of time reviewing it together, telling what we need and what we're after. And so basically we're trying to chop it up into cross sections along the length of the keel so we can laser cut cross sections so we can build this form with foam in between and start the process of making our own lead bulb. So that's super exciting. It's really nice keeping the boat thing alive whilst we're doing the rowboat, because the whole point in this rowboat is so we've got somewhere to live whilst we're building the boat. So yeah, really exciting times, and we'll keep you tuned on that one. For now, I'm going to go in and grab footage of Chris doing these hinges so you can see how they've worked out.
Okay, so this is the bracket that we've made up out of a bit of old 20mm box and some flat bar there. Not old, actually, we had to go and buy it. But basically what it's doing is these are going to fall into these holes into the normal roof bar channel. And the problem I had is the upright bolt here that takes the hinge. There will be 3 of these. This is just a trial to make sure it works. It wants to sit right on that rolled edge there, and it's not really a good place because the roof's only single skin there. So I've got this, we'll hopefully drop that in there and pull this over, and now we've got this bolt where we need it. So I'm just going to pull that over now and check, see if it works, and then put one on the other side, lift the roof and see if it goes. Well, the time has come to release the clamps. They've been on there for what, 3 or 4 days now?
4.
4 days have been on there.
It's quite cold.
It's really cold in Scotland, so the epoxy literally wasn't going off. We've got the old test piece just here. So this is out of the mixing tray that we mix the epoxy up with, so it's gone hard, which is good. On the top's always a bit sort of greasy, really. That's something called aniline blush. It's kind of a leftover from the chemical reaction of epoxy. Yeah, so that's what peel ply and stuff like that takes off, or Mr. Muscle if you're that way inclined. It works a treat. Not that you should, but it works. Anyway, it's...
Can you hear that rain?
Gone hard.
Chucking it down.
You gotta learn to love it here, it's always raining.
Right, what's the plan, Stan?
We'll release these, take this piece of wood out, and then if it all works out, this shouldn't spring open, and it should stay in a rigid form, if we've been lucky and got it right. So we'll just release a couple of these by pulling that tab.
All of them?
Yeah, just pop them all up, will you?
You've been down this road for far too long. He left your love behind, but still you keep on crawling back, despite the pain inside. 'Cause all that I want is for you to be happy. Give me a chance to show that you can.
Now this is where we find out if it's actually rigid enough. Should be alright. Just lay it down on its side maybe.
I want to stand it up like it's going to be.
It's pretty good. Wanna flip her up?
What, your end down?
Okay. Well, it worked. Might get a straight edge and have a look at it, just to see what.
It's not very straight. You're not going to get very far.
Huh,
That's cool.
pretty good.
Mad that we're going to cut a door out of this.
One of the concerns that we had was that where the ratchet straps clamp, they would sort of create like an hourglass wobble, which is why we clamp them over each sort of structural bearer on the form. So let's just have a look and see what we... You know, there's nothing. Fractional. Maybe 0.5 millimeter. Well, that could be my ruler, to be fair. Yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe 0.5 millimeter. And I don't think that's even worth filling. I don't think you'll ever see it. Happy days. All right, so it's been a few days since we popped the actual curve, if you like, out of the mold, and we've done a few things, and we did actually, I'll show you what I did it with. Basically, we had to attach something to the 90-degree bend either side to make it longer and also to fit the scribes of the van. The reason is that the boards that we got were 1.2 millimeter, which is a standard 4-foot sheet in the UK, and we couldn't get wider, especially in the flexi ply. So even if we could have got wider, this needs to be over 6 feet, so we'd have had to extend it anyway, because I think the widest you can get sometimes is 5, maybe even 6. But anyway, so we're having to extend that. So I'm doing that. You could use like a lap joint, which is where they lap over each other, but that's not very strong. You could use a tongue and groove. You could use put a tongue in of a hardwood. That would be stronger than usually a tongue and groove. That's if you're using softwood as your primary material. But we're using this thing here, which is a finger jointing bit. What that does is it gets us a join like this, which gives us loads of surface area, loads of strength. So if it's impacted from the side, when used with a good glue, it's super strong and good for bulkheads and the like. Okay. Okay, so we've just put the entropy epoxy into both of those. That's that bio resin that we like to use because this kind of feels like you're doing something good for the world. And this is the next step, which is a thickened version of it. So again, it's the same epoxy resin. with West Systems. So West Systems are a sister company of Entropy, and they make this kind of filler microfibers, and I've got it mixed like a honey. You can use it like mixed anywhere with the peanut butter. I'm using this just to fill the gaps, okay? Because I want to make sure I've got good bond in there and good glue filling the joint. The reason I've put epoxy in first is because when you use any thickened epoxies, you don't get, it becomes thicker, right? So then the wood pores can't absorb as well. So the wood will absorb this epoxy, definitely. And then any voids or anything gets filled with this stuff, and that chemical reaction bonds it all together. So there you go. That's why we did it twice. I don't want my bulkheads falling apart. That certainly wouldn't be cricket. And I just want a little bit of tape on the bottom of here, because the other great thing about epoxy is it sticks to everything apart from polypropylene, which just happens to be what tape's made from. This together.
Okay, so Chris mentioned the Airhead earlier, so I'm going to show you this toilet. Now, I'm pretty excited over a toilet, to be honest, because at the end of the day it's a toilet. But this thing, it's not going to be using chemicals. It doesn't have a cassette that we have to pull in and out. We're going to have a separate urine tank, and Chris is going to wire it up all fancy with solenoids and stuff. That's a bit past me, but it's just like a normal household toilet, which is pretty cool. But the great thing about this for us is the freedom it's going to give us, we hope. And we've been told it's super easy to install. So let's see. The freedom it's giving us, because we don't have to go into marina to pump out. We can be off grid and do our business as we like. So we're going to hopefully put this in the boat because of the freedom it's going to give us. But we're going to throw it in this van to do some testing and see how it fares before we put it on the boat. So on that note, let's crack on, get this van finished, because got to get this done before we can go and build the boat.
So it's been 3 days since this has been in the clamps now, and we're going to pull it out, and I can't wait, to be quite honest. Oh, listen to that epoxy.
It's huge.
Massive, isn't it? This is like a massive shower cabinet from some kind of posh hotel. Hello, darling. Let's get in the van.
Okay, let's get this bad boy in the van. It's even gonna fit. Is this even gonna fit?
Don't know. I haven't a clue if it's gonna fit.
It's the size of the van.
It is, isn't it? All the way to the front. Rotate 90 degrees. Back towards me a bit. Stand her over that.
So this is one huge bulkhead, and do you know, it's my birthday today, and this is a really sweet birthday present, because this is pretty much, like I called it earlier, the heart of the van, because now that we've got this bulkhead in, we can have this bulkhead, that covered, like everything's going to come together now. So this is essentially our shower room and toilet room. Our toilet's going to slide in and out of this area, so you got full place for a shower. I mean, that is luxury right there. I'm so excited. This thing is going to be amazing. We are going to veneer it with our super thin walnut veneer, so that's really exciting. And somehow Chris is going to cut a door out of it, which I'm obviously already nervous about, but I think it's pretty natural for Chris. So super excited to see how that comes about. Stay tuned, and you'll see that next week, along with these two hatches being filled with really special, well, I think they're pretty cool, hatches from Lumar, so keeping it marine. So they're going to be installed next week, along with some other really cool stuff. We've got pulleys and all sorts going into the drop-down bed. So yeah, stay tuned and see how that all goes in terms of, I don't know if you've got any advice for what we're doing right or wrong or whatever. I mean, it's not Chris's first rodeo, but he is a boat builder, not a van builder, so let us know what you think. I'm just going along with it. So yeah, we'd love to see in the comments, and subscribe, it's free, and every subscriber we get is a high five. So please subscribe, like, and we'll see you next week.